The nightclub fire that killed 231 people is prompting Brazilian authorities to look at safety measures across the country. In Santa Maria, the town where the tragedy occurred, 4 people have been arrested and detained for questioning as part of the investigation. Dozens of funerals continue to take place for the fire's victims.
In Brazil, 4 people have been arrested in connection with Sunday's nightclub fire. Hundreds of mourners have been holding a vigil in Santa Maria to remember the 231 victims. Many were university students. John Baralik is a lawyer who represented families of the victims of one of the worst nightclub fires in the US. He says tougher laws are needed.
A police spokesperson said officers are interviewing 2 band members and 2 owners of the club. The musicians set off fireworks as part of their stage show. Police investigators believe the sparks set fire to the ceiling. The band members said the venue's fire extinguishers didn't work. Police officers are still investigating the circumstances that led to such a high number of deaths.
Of the survivors, hundreds were injured and taken to the local hospital. Authorities say piles of bodies were found inside the bathrooms. Eyewitnesses call it a scene from a horror film. By daylight, hospitals in Santa Maria were packed with people looking for family members among the survivors. And a makeshift morgue was set up to identify the bodies. Rescue workers said the sounds of ringing cell phones from the deceased echoed in the air, with one cell phone showing over 100 missed calls.
But a Catholic priest comforting the mourners also warned against rushing to judgment.
Many people, and not just one person, will ultimately have to take responsibility. We should be careful at this point not to preempt the role of justice.
It is believed the fire was started by a firework lit on stage, the use of which indoors is illegal under Brazilian law. The fire is bound to raise questions over the willingness of Brazil's authorities to enforce those codes.
Funerals have begun, less than 48 hours after a catastrophe on a scale which has shocked the whole country. Many of those who died were students. Many parents will bury their children in the coming days. So many lives have been lost that it's impossible to grieve in private. The young people who died together are being mourned together inside a sports centre. It's the only place big enough to accommodate all the coffins and the hundreds of relatives and friends who've gathered here. In many cases, the bereaved discovered their loss because the names of those who died and have been positively identified were announced on speakers outside.
I've been looking for her since this morning, and she's just been identified now at 5 in the afternoon. We thought she was at the hospital.
Brazil is in mourning when the country should be celebrating. An event to mark 500 days until the start of the 2014 World Cup was cancelled, while the country's president, Dilma Rousseff, tried to comfort the people of Santa Maria, a university town in the south of the country.
Reports in local media said the KISS Club's fire certificate expired last year. More than 80 people are in hospital, 30 of them in a serious condition. The eyes of the world are on Brazil's safety credentials with the World Cup football and the Olympic Games coming up. Already some of the relatives are asking how authorities allowed such an event to go ahead. The nation is in 3 days of mourning.